Don't sell your XRP. The richest people who own crypto don't sell it when the price is super high, okay? They're borrowing money using their crypto as something to back up the loan so they don't have to pay taxes right away on gains. All right, most regular investors don't even know this trick exists. And I've helped some of the richest families right here in the US. And I want to tell you something cool that they do to live their lives using their assets and their crypto. And they keep holding it forever without ever selling it. By the end of this video, you'll learn the exact step-by-step plan that rich people use to keep their growing assets forever while still having money for their lifestyle, and how you can do the same thing with your XRP. So what do people even call this idea? If you don't sell your assets or your crypto, how do you get cash? Like, what does that look like? How does it actually work? Well, lots of people call it infinite banking, which basically means the stuff you own keeps going up in price over time. You can do this with an insurance policy or some other special setups, but the main thing is you just borrow money using those assets. Borrowed money doesn't get taxed. Now, you do have to pay interest on the loan, well, unless you do it the right way with certain insurance. But mostly this is what super rich billionaires do. They own big chunks of stocks that trade on the market. They just borrow against those stocks to pay for their life, and when they die, the loan gets paid back with the stocks that grew in value, right? So most people think they only have two choices with crypto. They can hold it for the big upside or sell it. But selling means you have to pay long-term capital gains tax right away, which is usually between 15 and 20% at the federal level in the US. In other countries, it's different, and that's just for long-term gains. If you bought it this year, it's taxed like normal income. So when you add state taxes, you might pay between 25 and 35% on long-term gains, and even up to 50% if it's short-term gains when you sell for profit, okay? So if you had $1 million Bitcoin stash, you'd have to give the government between $250,000 and $350,000 in taxes just to get your profits. That's 25 or 30%. Like, that's a ton of money handed over to the US government for them to spend however they want. Why not keep that money yourself? Rich people have used borrowing tricks with life insurance and regular assets for decades. People with a lot of money often borrow against their stocks and stuff instead of selling, and the interest rates are pretty fair. And the loan to value is decent. And reports say Elon Musk used his stock as backup for loans to buy Twitter, that $40 billion deal. He borrowed against his SpaceX stock and got Twitter. No taxes on that, by the way. And he could use it to lower taxes on other monies. So the same borrowing idea is now open for crypto through safe big company storage that we have at Digital Wealth Partners and Digital Ascension Group. We use a three-party setup. We have lenders ready to give money against it. We can help you get credit lines for your digital stuff. So the idea that your assets keep growing can help you pay back these loans over a long time. So for example, let's say you borrow against your XRP today. It's $250. And you're not going to borrow a huge amount, okay? Right now, we can get 45% loan to value. So maybe borrow against 10%. You have $1 million in XRP. You want $100,000. Cool. You put up $1 million worth of XRP. You see, even if the price jumps around, you're probably safe from a margin call. It would have to drop a whole lot for that, but that's money you get with no tax, and you're paying, let's say, 1% a month right now on that loan. So $1,000 a month for a $100,000 credit line, and you could keep rolling it. So as the assets grow, you could borrow more and use that to pay the loan. You could put some aside. Let's say you set aside $12,000 because you know that's what it'll cost over the year to cover interest. And now you have the rest tax-free, which is still better than selling and paying 25 or 30% tax depending on long-term gains. If it's short-term, it could be even higher. So borrowing against something that's growing is normal. This happens in regular finance all the time. You can borrow against it. There's a loan-to-value ratio, and interest builds up over time. If you do it inside an insurance policy and the assets keep growing, the policy's cash value pays off the debt. Most people still make some payments while alive, but as the asset and market do well, you get more borrowing power, and you pay interest on what you borrow. And the money you borrow isn't taxed as income, right? Not as long-term or short-term gains or regular income. None of it gets taxed because it's a loan. Loans aren't taxed. So with good planning, there are ways to handle the debt. And again, we'll talk more about that if you stay for the rest of the video. So understanding 3 ways for crypto infinite banking. There are 3 main ways depending on your setup and how much you have. So you can borrow straight against your crypto in safe big company storage. Again, we offer that with what we have at Digital Wealth Partners in Anchorage. You could use DeFi for peer to peer lending, or you can do it inside an insurance policy with private placement life insurance, which we help people with too. So each way has different starting amounts, costs, and good points. So we're going to look at those and see what fits your pile of assets best if you want this plan. And picking the wrong one could cost you big fees and missed chances. So you want to pick the right setup, and it could save you hundreds of thousands in taxes while keeping your assets and watching them grow over the next 5 or 10 years, which we know will be huge for digital stuff. So that first way I mentioned again was borrowing straight against the asset. Maybe you hold it in your LLC or trust or even your own name. And we can help clients do this at Digital Wealth Partners. To work with us, you need an LLC or trust holding the assets. We can't work with just regular people, and we'll help set up those if you're interested. And it has lots of other good things compared to the DeFi stuff we'll talk about soon. So we have a 3-party deal. Your assets sit at Anchorage. It's a separate safe insured account up to 100 million, and they're still your assets. It's like the safest cold storage. Plus, your family doesn't even need to know about crypto. Their names can be on it as helpers, or your spouse can sign too. It's basically like a Schwab account, but for digital assets, and normal loan terms are between 30 up to 60% loan to value. Bitcoin gets the higher side. XRP is around 45 to 50, and that's just what lenders feel okay with right now. As more money comes in, and XRP maybe gets called a top asset by big groups, I think they'll lend more against it later with lower risk and lower interest. But today it's around 30 to 50% loan to value, and interest rates go from about 8% low and up to 15%, depending on the asset and how much you give as backup. So let's say you had $500,000 in Bitcoin, you might borrow $150,000 to $250,000 in that range. Like I said, 30 to 50%. We don't usually push that high. We like lower, 20 to 30% max, but we know some people want more risk, and we have it if that's what they want. So interest rates right now go from about 8% up to 15%. It depends on the asset and how much backup you give. The rates show how the crypto loan market is today. And the big plus over DeFi is it keeps you safe when prices swing wild. We just saw one of the biggest wipeouts in crypto ever, and none of our clients lost their stuff. If you were in DeFi, poof, gone. Assets taken. With us, you get different rules. Now, you have to do KYC checks. It's not open to just anyone, but it's easy. Nothing wild. As long as you're not doing bad stuff like fraud, we can help. So money usually comes in 24 hours, but some get it in 30 or 45 minutes, super quick, especially with more loans. And it can be in USDC or wired as cash, whatever you like. But on the swingy price side, if there's a margin call, our partners work with us because they don't want to take your stuff. They want the interest for the whole time. That's how they earn. And so they give you 24 hours to fix it. Sometimes longer if it's a weekend or hard to send money fast, that they'll help. But in DeFi, it's over instantly. As the market grows and rules change, I think loan deals get better, and our lenders keep getting us better rates to pass to clients. And banks might lend against crypto someday. We've heard talks about using it for home loans and more. As more people use it, that gets easier. Probably the first big step for big companies is lending against crypto. And I see it starting late 2025 and 2026. I think interest rates drop a lot because less risk and more people competing. So right now, 8 to 15%, I think it could go to prime +1 or around 9%. Single digit rates on crypto loans by early 2026 is what I expect. People who start early with good borrowing setups can refinance when rates drop, like getting a house loan in the 80s at high rates, then refinancing lower as things get better and assets grow, keeping payments the same, but borrowing more. That'll be fun to see as it happens. So let's talk about the DeFi side. That's the second choice if you want this. Platforms like A and Compound let you lend crypto-backed, and those are the big ones. There are others and some regular exchanges, but let's focus on DeFi. Now, usually no KYC needed. It's open to anyone. That's the point of DeFi. It's fast, almost instant to get stable coins like Tether or USDC from the smart contract, but your crypto gets locked. It's not yours anymore in the same way. They hold it. There's risk if the system gets hacked or fails, no insurance. So watch out for that. But rates change with the system and market. They go up and down. They decide risk their way. So what if the system thinks risk is high and jacks up your rate? It's variable, not great. The big thing to watch is automatic sell-off if rules aren't met, and you can't add more fast. That's how smart contracts work. No time to fix. They take it to cover losses. That's the whole deal. No 24 hours, no one to talk to. Gone if too much borrow. It can wipe people out fast. I've seen it. So that's why we set up safer rules with partners to cut that risk when crypto swings big down. If it drops super fast, you won't have much time and you'll stress watching it nonstop. Extra worry using DeFi versus working with safe big lenders and safe storage. But for small amounts in short time, this might work better. If big money or long time, probably go safe side. If you need quick $10,000 or $20,000 against ETH for a couple months, maybe DeFi is good, right? So fast and easy can help, depending what you need. And for bigger, I'd pick the other, if over 50 grand, probably safe partners for protection, because that's real money. If smaller and lots of backup, less worry. So the last one is private placement life insurance. And this is where classic infinite banking happens. But it needs way more, usually at least $5 million to start most times. It takes longer to set up to borrow against the policy. It needs at least 5 years of payments most times, maybe 7 to 10 years. So what does that mean? You pay premiums and build cash value over years, not all at once. Because if you dump it all in, the tax people and rules caught on and stopped that trick. So no modified endowment contract. Space it out. This is fancy. And for people with big cash in the US now, you fund with cash, then buy assets inside if you want. If not US or Canadian, you can do offshore in Bermuda or Cayman. A few places have these fancy policies and you can put assets right in. So pros and cons to each, and pick what's right for where you live and your family. So the policy gets tax breaks. You can swap assets inside if you follow the rules for that place. In US, you need at least 5 different investments. No single one over 55% of the policy. Again, you need a fiduciary and RIA to handle assets inside, but you can hold almost anything. Real estate, private companies, crypto, stocks, private loans, anything really inside these. Again, someone else manages it. And specific rules to follow. So circling back, what's good about this? As cash value builds and assets grow, you borrow against the policy. And there's details on how and who checks it. This isn't quick like DeFi. If you want fast and simple, the other two are better. This is long-term tax saving. For credit lines, you want in a year or two. You need planning ahead for private placement life insurance and a good family plan. And if you want that and top experts, reach out to us at Digital Ascension Group. And we have connections to share for these high-level money setups most people can't get. So I'm going to talk about real client we had and what they picked and how we helped. And again, nothing here is money advice. It's just for fun and learning. Always talk to a money advisor and we can connect you at Digital Ascension Group. We have digital wealth partners. Go to digitalwealthpartners.net and work with an advisor who knows crypto and these special setups, including credit lines. So if that sounds good, we'd love to help. Check the contact page there. So without waiting, let's jump into the example. So let's say a client bought XRP at 50 and they're holding $4 million worth of those XRP. And, back when price was low, they were worth about $2 million and they thought XRP would climb, and it has a bit since then. And so they took a loan then and borrowed about $500,000. So if they sold $500,000 as it grew, they'd owe long-term capital gains tax. But since they borrowed and the asset grew, now their loan to value looks great and they could borrow more if wanted. And that's the magic part. As assets grow, you can borrow bigger and bigger. As long as you use the money smart and not waste it, make sure you have backup or put it in things that make cash to cover the loan payments, or set enough aside till you can refinance. So again, talk to an advisor. I'm not advising you, and we're the only ones with these partners for these rates. and borrowing in safe storage at Anchorage. So we'll guess the yearly interest cost from current rates. And as your XRP does well with the market, you could refinance long-term and put cash into houses or businesses or other things that make more than what you pay here and live off some of the extra while covering debt, cut taxes, have it all. Like, that's the win. So again, we don't advise on DeFi, and we can help with PLI, which is slower and careful, or short-term borrowing in LLC or trust. But what I really want you to get is funding. Life is nice, but look at making passive money or cash flow with what you borrow. Rich people refinance and take equity to buy more assets. People built huge house collections this way, right? As assets grow, rates drop, they refinance lower with more value, pull cash, buy another. Now that one makes money and you keep adding. So I'm not saying buy more crypto, though some do with leverage. We tell people, look for things that make cash. And like one plan I have is watch XRP grow. We'll see chances on other digital assets. You can stake for yield or join return programs, and I'll get those and join the returns. So I get growth on that, plus enough cash flow to cover interest on XRP loan plus extra for me. And that's how you keep it going, right? Like really three things: trade for money, time, where most people are, you work 9 to 5 or run a small business. Next is knowledge. You have special skill and make more. Like the plumber who fixes it quick in minutes and gets $500, he solves fast with know-how. And last is your money. As you build wealth, put it to work making more and add assets. That's what rich do. Once rich, get rich once. We diversify, protect, but add assets with smart loans. I know people see debt bad because that's what we hear, but debt is a tool, tax-free, and great at cutting taxes. So again, the plans I share today come from real work helping clients with fancy crypto piles. And if you're serious about crypto borrowing and want to talk with others doing it, come join through the link in comments below where we chat all this. We have over 9,000 people in the mastermind sharing wealth ideas in crypto. And if you want us to handle it for you, go to digitalfamilyoff.io, linked below too. So now that we covered the three ways, let's talk about paying the debt without selling assets. One big question is, how do you handle the payments? Like, what's the downside, right? Well, you do have to pay. And one way is use some borrowed money smart. Some people put it in annuities or setups that give steady income. Annuities take at least a year to pay unless big amount and more put in versus using for other stuff. So look at things that make income to cover interest. Let's break it. Example, borrow $1 million against crypto, put $200,000 in a setup or something to make income. Maybe a rental house you finance, and it pays back monthly or quarterly to help debt or other assets making monthly cash. If a digital asset gives yield, park some there for growth plus cover interest, or just set aside enough to cover interest till end and hopefully refinance bigger because it grew. This can keep giving income for payments, right? Another thing for family planning and infinite banking is life insurance on the debt. And this is where borrowing fits with your will stuff. So let's talk life insurance. And borrowing can mix with estate plans. You could get insurance on crypto loans left, okay? So life insurance to cover loan if you die, maybe term policy with small payments, and if something bad happens, it pays debt, so assets stay without sale, or other policy to cover a beneficiaries, get assets clean because insurance handles debt and interest. So if $2 million crypto borrowed $1 million, get $1 million life policy to cover debt. Premium changes with age, health, setup, lots there, but one way to keep assets from selling when you pass. And good part is you used crypto while alive, borrowed for life, investments, business, avoided tax hits from selling. Plus, heirs get assets per plan without sell, like in good PLI setup. You can mix both, but lots just borrow an LLC, then get term policy to cover debt if bad thing happens. So let's look at costs here. People fixate on interest without full view. Okay, I know 9 to 15% today feels scary for big borrows, but let's see asset growth too. Interest high, but compared to selling and tax, we said long-term gains 25 or 35% and worst here 15. Plus, you lose all future growth. Huge miss if XRP or others go way up long-term like Bitcoin last 15 years. So let's do a couple what ifs, okay, just to show difference. Scenario A, sell million in Bitcoin, pay long-term gains, say no state tax, $200,000, maybe more. Depends income, but easy math. You get $800,000 after tax on gains. And if bought low, went high, cost basis and math there. Then invest 800 grand or keep cash and live off after tax, more tax later. Scenario B, borrow $800,000 against million Bitcoin. Not easy today, no 80% LTV. And we wouldn't push, but same cash, no tax, and still own Bitcoin for future growth. That's the idea. Weigh it. Talk advisor, but depends Bitcoin performance interest paid what borrowed money does. This way you keep choices whole loan time instead of regret selling Bitcoin. Refinance as rates better. Add more backup on dips to fix LTV. Keep big upside chance, no tax, hit big win if crypto jumps a lot. Every percent growth over interest is extra. You keep versus missing climb after sell or big price leap. You'll regret. All right, so wrapping up. Difference between real long wealth in crypto and just the ups and downs is doing it right. These plans aren't made up. Investors use them now knowing hold alone isn't enough. You need setup protection. Plan to get value without wrecking asset base, okay? And if you get this, it's what richest families like Rockefeller did. Borrow against growing stuff tax-free. So if ready to think bigger like big companies, we have over 9,000 people doing these at Digital Wealth Partners. Over 500 used custody loans, LLCs, PLI. Want more on how we do it? Check Beyond Mastermind in comments. Over 9,000 learning daily. No matter beginner or crypto rich, something for you. Love to see you. Link below. Code Beyond Broke. 1 MO for first month. $2. Try it. Try. Think you'll like to end? Remember richest and old finance used infinite banking forever. They borrow, never sell. Pass assets to kids tax-free. Grow over generations. Now same for digital assets. Setup ready. Partner set. Tax wins huge. Question is, will you set it up before crypto grows so much you have to sell and pay giant tax, or join and borrow, keeping upside, building family wealth? Choice yours, but time won't wait forever. We're pumped. Choice yours, but right setup window closes. If this helped, subscribe to see you next.